Welcome back to Wynwood Magazine Podcast, where we are here at Art Basel 2025 Miami Art Week, and where the conversations of art during the Olympic time of the art world is right here happening from Wynwood, Miami, here at the Art of Hip Hop and the Museum of Graffiti, with two of the most amazing titans of the world in street art movement, and going from the walls to the canvases and to the museums with me is Ron English.
Hello.
And Shepard Fairey.
Thanks for having me.
I mean, I am absolutely honored. We're honored to have you. I mean, you have subvert the mainstream media. You have totally between propaganda and propaganda. You have taken cultural, political, and cultural jamming into a way that changed the art scene totally. And so my question to you is, when you're working from, you guys like fluidly move from the walls to the galleries to the museums. When you're working in a public space, how do you go about the process making of the piece that you're going to do for the public, and then move that same type of conversation into an institution? With Shepard?
Oh, all right. I'll go first. Sure. Well, when I'm working in public, I'm just looking at what the various problems are that need to be solved. And I do that for the gallery too. But when I was working illegally, being able to make something that was strong quickly, that cut through all the visual clutter of the city, was really important to me. And then as I progressed and I was able to do legal murals where I could spend more time still looking at the nature of the wall in relation to its surroundings, maybe what some of the things going on in that area politically, socially are. I always think that it's important to think in the micro and the macro. So something like climate change affects everybody. It affects the whole planet. But there are other things like, the economics of gentrification that might factor into one neighborhood more than another. And then when I work in the gallery, it's looking at how isolated on a white wall this piece is going to still have some of the same energy that it automatically gets from the energy of the street. So maybe that's including layering, texture, text that's subtle, that's read through, translucent colors, all of those things that give something the energy of how things build up on the surface of the street. So that's how I bridge those worlds.
That's how you bridge those. And I wanted to ask you, Ron, about your pop culture, the way you remix it, your styles, reimagining pop culture. You, in your own way, how do you think pop culture imagery can be used responsibly to provoke conversations in today's environment?
I thought we were going to talk about sports. We were talking about sports. What happened? Yeah, well, I think when I was a little kid, my mom taught me how to paint by drawing Charlie Brown. And so, I learned to draw Charlie Brown. And then somebody took me aside and says, well, you can't draw Charlie Brown because you don't own Charlie Brown. And then you see people they go on a Disney cruise, they wear a Disney shirt, but they can't use that picture of their daughter in their art because it's got a copyrighted character on there. So I don't know. I just thought that's a cultural construct. Like in China, they don't really care about copyrights, or they don't care about, if I could make a better Jackson Pollock than Jackson Pollock here, people go, well, that's Jackson Pollock. You can't do Jackson Pollock. But in China, you can do it. If you do better Jackson Pollock, then it's a better Jackson Pollock, or it's actually a better Ron English. So they think differently. So I was just trying to think differently from the beginning.
And you did that with the cultural jamming that you've done. In today's society, with all the things that are going on, how does your message, would it change? Is your message being received the same way it was back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s as it is today?
Well, they say an idiot is somebody who repeats the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, So I I am that idiot, because when I did Maryland with Mickey, it's people hated it. And then, after 5 years of doing it, then it became I could sell a whole show out of just that. So So that culture kind of catches up to you, kind of like when Stravinsky did the Rite of Spring. They had a little riot, and they just thought it was an insult, and he was just, taking a dump on them.
Right.
And a year later, the same people came back and says, this is kind of genius, But their brains had to grow to be able to accept that. So sometimes we kind of get out ahead of the curve on stuff,
I have to, Shepard, you started with Obey, and the message of blind obedience was the beginning of that message. Does it still stand today, or has it morphed or evolved through the decades?
Well, the original concept of obey, that people frequently aren't analytical enough, and they fall in line with the rules or the social constructs that they haven't thought to question. That's still 100% there. But I think the way in which obey has evolved for me is that obedience generally, I think, is a problem if it's blind obedience. But if you obey your conscience rather than, right now, I think we're seeing a huge wave of people setting their morality aside to be selfish and greedy because there are people in leadership that are celebrating their dominance by not caring about other people and only caring about themselves. So it's become a okay thing. People feel they have permission. So now I'm saying, like, hey, it's just as important to obey your conscience as it is to, disobey things that you feel are not just in the world. And the way that manifests in my work is always evolving, always mutating. I always pivot back to some of my original iconography because I think it's important for people to understand the humble beginnings and the through line to where I am now.
Yes.
But I'm not satisfied just remixing my known iconography. I'm always creating new imagery and new ways to address the problems in the world that are recycled. We see a different skin on the same problems, like decade after decade.
And that's exactly what was going to lead to my next question, is that you both use art as a tool for social change, right? And in this time of the political polarization that's happening in our world, what role do you believe artists should take in order to give that message and see if it could create change? I know you started and changed the whole political aspect of the way young people saw with your poster Hope. Now, with what's happening and the division of our country, which is like right through the middle, it's crazy. How do you go and continue that, using that social justice message through the art?
Or how do you get people to quit hating their cousin?
Yeah, you bring up the Hope poster. Well, at the same time I was working on that, Ron made an image that I thought was very, very smart and powerful, and it was a hybrid of Abraham Lincoln and Barack Obama,
Yeah.
the president who ended slavery and then the first half black presidents. Getting and of course Lincoln was a Republican.
Which meant something different.
Yeah, it did mean
It
something.
really did.
But it's still, in my opinion, it's an image that helps people bridge different eras of history and maybe even political or cultural divides. And I'm always into calling out the villains, but when we're so polarized, I'm actually more into building bridges than walls. I want to make something that can highlight what should be a universal human principle, that very things that everyone should agree on, that are unassailable ideas, and say someone has sold you the wrong story. The narrative that to you says that equality means that one who's parasitic gets a handout. That's a lie that you've been sold. Can we just see everyone as having human dignity, and some people are more vulnerable than others? How do I bring that idea forward in a piece of art? That's what I'm trying to do in this moment. When I was younger, and I felt like it was a revelation to realize that there were a lot of villains out there, and that you couldn't just stand back and accept things as they were. I did a lot of pointing out problems. Now I'd rather highlight solutions.
Solutions. That's amazing.
Nobody perceives themselves as a villain.
No, no. And you guys definitely, I mean, you guys, on the contrary, you're superheroes. I mean, I consider you both.
Not to every.
Not to everyone. Well, let me tell you, Ron, you have been such an advocate when it comes to, in 2020, we took that Obama, the morphed up with the Abraham Lincoln all through Washington, D.C. I happen to be one of these fans of Ron, that I'm always putting myself illegally to get arrested from Beacon all the way to the streets of Anacostia, Washington, D.C., where we took some of your posters with the Statue of Liberty, freedom. And so, both of you have so much influence the young artists. What do you hope for them to take away from your work? And what would you like them to break away from?
Oh, well, I mean, it proves that all you have to do to be a street artist is pick up a can of spray paint and then push the button. And then now you're a part of it, so it's easy access, I think that what I try to make kids understand is that it is illegal, treat it like it's illegal, don't get caught. I'm not, yeah, but just think about how much power you had just by taking it,
Yeah, you become noted.
Billboards were just there, and at some point I figured out, well, if you have a 15-foot ladder, you can hit any billboard in Texas. They're all yours.
They're all yours.
Yeah. And if you wear like a fluorescent suit, nobody's even going to think a thing about it. Do it during the day. That it's yours. You can change it. And I kind of thought, well, advertising, like they have $1 billion to sell this product. How do you go against $1 billion, right?
Right.
You can only hit a few billboards. But if you have a nice bowl of soup and you put a fly in the soup, it's like, well, there's way more soup than fly. But it kind of like makes people think about eating the soup. Even if you scoop it out, they're still like, okay, now I'm thinking about the soup,
Yeah,
It's kind of like soup, but you have to kind of understand who you are and how much power you actually have.
Yeah,
And circling back to the thing is, how do you get people together? And I've been thinking about that a lot, because they're like, when I was a kid, like when I was 14 or whatever, they send you to the cornfields, right? And you work your summers in the cornfields. And my mom says, tell them you're in college and they'll make you a crew boss. And I'm like, they're gonna know I'm not in college. So I'm like 14 years old or 15 years old.
Yeah.
And she goes, I just say, and if they say no, you're not, then you're not a crew boss. Don't worry about it. But they believe me and they let me be a crew boss because they didn't really care. We were working slave labor, I guess. No, but we were working like for minimum wage, and they didn't care. But I had a crew, and now I'm in charge of all these kids. And I had this one kid that wore a raincoat. He was a nerd. He was a super nerd. And all the kids on the other crews that throw mud clots at him all day long, Well, it wasn't stupid to wear a raincoat, because the corn stuff cuts your arms up really bad. And so you don't want to wear long sleeves because it's super hot. But then if you don't, I don't know. And he was a nerd, okay. But I thought, well, how can I help this kid? So he wasn't on my crew. He was on another crew. And I went to the other crew and I says, can I have that guy? I'll trade you one of my guys for that guy. And they're like, you're nuts. You want the nerd? And it's like, I want the nerd. And then I brought the nerd over. Everybody goes, oh, good, we're closer. We can get him with the dirt clots better. And I was like, no, he's on our crew now. Now we defend him. If anybody messes with him, we all slaughter that guy. You understand? It's like, dude, he's on our crew. And, the first person that threw dirt clot, they went and whipped his ass. And from then on, instead of fucking with this kid, they defended him because they thought, okay, we're on the same team.
Right.
So I'm kind of thinking if you can kind of change the conversations to like, you know what? We argue all the time. And yeah, it seems like we hate each other, but we don't. And you know what? Russia, you don't get to fuck with us. We can fuck with each other. That's fine. We're family.
Right.
No, you don't get to interfere with this.
That's right.
You see me arguing with my cousin? Yeah, we'll argue all day long. I love the motherfucker. Now to try to change it to the conversation we got to bring these people back in.
We have to bring the unity.
Humiliating. Everybody wants to go, see, I told you he was just going to steal everything.
Yeah.
It's like, we seem so swarmy and smartassy when it's like we got to be something else,
Yeah.
The average citizen seems to be more concerned with the 3% corruption and grift that happens with the SNAP program for people that need food subsidy versus the billions and billions of dollars of grift at the top of the food chain from corrupt politicians and business people.
Like, what did he I think it was like $170,000 something like that. He never even got in a rope line to see his dad.
Yeah.
Those guys that paid him, they got nothing out of it, and they didn't really give him that much to begin with. Then Jared Kushner takes $2 billion. He was like, I think they can't understand how much $2 billion is. I know how much 170,000 is because I got a cousin that makes 170,000 a year, and I hate him because he got such a big house or whatever.
Yeah.
But they can understand that, but I don't think they can
No,
understand.
they
it.
can't. I think it's oblivious. It's oblivious. Now, you two have something in common as well, which is the love and passion for music. You have an amazing band, and you're always creating amazing videos and music with all types of amazing and different genres too. I've heard jazz, rock, and then you're amazing with the
And
vinyl.
in high school,
No, I never played an instrument, but I always loved music, so I got into DJ.
Yeah, you're
Because
the
that's,
vinyl. You're the vinyl king of the DJ music.
Yeah.
You used to
I can-
DJ Wynwood Walls at the
Yeah.
beginning.
I can tell a secret about Shepard.
Okay.
Yeah, is it okay? No.
Yeah,
I said,
well-
what's your favorite thing about DJs? It's like I'm at the party, but I don't get mobbed. I'm like safe.
Well, oh, with your what? I don't get it.
He was mobbed by people.
Oh yeah.
And so it was a way to like be at the party, but not like just
Not have to make small talk for
No,
3
he
hours.
was DJ for 2 years because he wore a hat. He wore one of these, and he was so into it that that's Shepard Fairey. Because you were just with a vinyl record, just doing your thing.
But that's really about feeling the crowd, right? Like
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
have a bad DJ, you know it. If you have
Yeah.
a good DJ, it's like it's the great.
Well,
Yeah, checking out what everybody's responding to. But here's one. Ron deserves a lot of credit for not just the music, but the videos he's making to go with it, because you've got like the full sensory package with that, And I feel like music is often a much better Trojan horse for ideas than visual art is, because people are a little intimidated by traditional, art in a museum or a gallery. But music is so democratic; everyone just absorbs it and feels fine, however they feel about it. If it makes them feel, then it can possibly make them think. That's why I think that lyrics and the video or the animation component can be very, very influential. And Ron's doing an incredible job with that. I emulate the cultural model of music because it's so accessible. So the way that punk rock said that, if you can play 3 chords in your garage, then you can start a band and that's all it takes. I felt like street art was the visual art equivalent of punk rock, and that was very liberating for me.
Music's very emotional.
yeah.
I mean, art really isn't that emotional. People say, "Oh, I went to the MoMA and I stood in front of the Guernica and I cried," and I'm like, "No, you did. Come on, it's a cartoon." But yeah, maybe you did. But there's some songs I can't listen to. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Michelle Shot. Like, there's a couple songs I just can't listen to. I'll cry.
Yeah.
And I'll cry in front of
Yeah.
people. And art visuals don't hit you the same way.
There's
different.
differently. I think it's
And if you really want
differently.
people to feel something, music can make that happen,
Absolutely. And I think the combination of both, which is what you do, always morphing your, delusional build characters into your music, it's just amazing. Now, both of you.
Delusional was so I wanted to be able to talk about things in politics and religion without it being, I'm not talking about you.
Yeah.
None of these correlate to a person. So we can talk about the idea of music, or the idea of politics and the idea of religion, but I'm not talking about you being a Christian or you being a Jewish or you being a Muslim. They have their own religions and they're different. So we can talk about the idea of these things and how they impact you without anybody feeling like they're offended. Because no matter where I do a show, everybody's like, it's so great, and you attack everything, and then they'll always take you aside and says, but how about if we remove this part? Because how it offends my crew.
Right.
But everybody else is fine.
But you use a lot of the satirical humor and you morph your characters into their own world with a lot of diversity. And it's the 3-eyed rabbit that might be holding a social message, to the pig or to the turtle And so
What's the children's people?
yeah, and so I love that. While you are using Shepard, you use a lot of the iconography of your life and what's happening around our world and within our cities, from the inner city to the global message. And I love your color palette, the red, the beige, the black, your obey message. You know, I was coming with a young kid and he's like, who's Shepard Fairey? I go, what? And he goes, who's Shepard Fairey? I go, obey? Oh my God. Like he knew obey, but he didn't, you know, it was so funny. But it's that whole symbol that just carries through, which is the visual effect. But it had such a big, like the way he said, oh my God, it was such a major
More
thing.
stuff out there than Pepsi. They would spend $1 billion a year.
know.
No, I was trying to explain the guy from the Billboard Liberation, but we're in the cafe, and I was trying to explain Shepard, and it's just like at some point I just thought, let's just look outside. We looked outside, sure enough, there was like an open.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
that guy, so that guy.
Yeah, it's really
And
funny.
me and my wife like tour and stuff, and
Yeah.
we always play a game. It's like stop, look around, and no matter where we went, we'd always, if you stop, look, there's one.
Yeah.
See on.
Yeah.
But we would be like in nowhere in the like at the bottom of France somewhere, you know, and it's okay, there's not going to be one here.
Well, that's why you guys are.
On the back of
you're-
this stop sign on some weird obscure
Yeah.
street in France.
Oh yeah. And you know, and he uses like your gymnastics. You have to be gymnastic. I've seen you hop on and to put a sticker tag. I mean, the passion is so you tag the world, and the message is universal. It's a legacy that will live on forever. What do you want your legacy to stand for, and what do you want tomorrow's young artists to take away from? Shepard first.
All right. Well, first I got to give Ron credit because in 1995 we were at Max Fish in New York City, and he showed me a little portfolio of all the billboards he had done, and I'd only done about 10 billboards at that point, and he'd done hundreds. And I thought,
You've done one the night before, though.
yeah, that's true. That is true. But I just thought, all right. And Ron's painting his. I'm just pasting mine up. So I give Ron a lot of credit for motivating me. But what I really hope is that principle that Ron mentioned of if you are feeling like a spectator in our world and in your own life, you're underestimating your own power. Pick up a spray can, pick up a paste brush, a paintbrush, whatever, and you have the power. I feel like my success comes from tenacity, determination, a lot more than skill. Sure, I work hard to make images I'm proud of, but it's the principle of one person being able to do a huge amount, even though they're told to sit on the sidelines, that I think is important for people to embrace. And hopefully I've provided a bit of a case study for that. And for everyone that says something mean on the internet, like, yeah, that dude's stuff is whack, anybody could do that, I go, yes, you're right, anybody could do it. And I'm sure with your natural talent, you'll do it way better than I can. So what's stopping you?
Exactly. And I have to tell you, I love that. The resilience, perseverance, move forward, repetition, also, you know, getting that message, like you said before, Ron, what would you love your legacy to be? And as you, for the young artists moving forward, what would you like them to take
some
away?
sweet young kid was going, it's like, you know what I love about you, Ron? It's like you're passing the baton. And I was like, I'm not passing the fucking baton. I'm holding on to it as long as I can, you know. But if you think I am, good for you.
I love that. Both family men. So for street artists that think that they can't have families or children or anything like that, wrong.
It's great lookouts.
Yeah. And long-standing marriages, which is amazing. And so I just wanted to say that to some young street kids that might think, oh, you know, they're always working. You can't have a relationship while you're building your art career. You guys are definitely a power symbol of having a little of the full circle. And I'm honored to have you both. And I wanted just to tell everyone, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, Ron English wrote for the magazine. And he wrote in Wynwood Magazine, he wrote The Art of Delusion. So when I asked Ron to write, he said, well, what should I write on? And I said to him, write on what you're best at, The Art of Delusion. And I have to tell you, I was so curious. And Romero Brito, everybody was so curious because Romero Brito wrote for the magazine Code Me Car. And I asked him, oh, guess who's writing? Ron English is writing. He goes, what is he writing on? I said, The Art of Delusion. So he says, Art of Delusion, I can't wait to read that article. I couldn't wait. My God, it is like your IQ got to be up. I mean, the way you talk about it's so genius. It's an amazing article.
Because I'm making fun of people who are delusional, but I'm also saying that
Yeah,
all the greatest people in the world
yeah,
delusional.
yeah, no.
So I'm going to do this, and everybody goes, "No, you're not.
Yeah, yeah.
That can't be
And
done."
I love when you say, you know, they all thought I was crazy, but when I started to make money, now I'm a genius. I love that. I love that. And then, you know, I can't wait to have Shepard Fairey next. So we're announcing this. The next cover is going to be for Art Basel 2026. If I'm alive, Wynwood Magazine. We're going to have Shepard on the cover. We had Ron, you kicked off Wynwood Magazine with you on the cover of 2024. And now we have Retina, which we're going over there to do an interview on Retina. But I can, yeah, oh, he's here. He's painting a wall.
Yep.
And you're both invited to his party, which I can't say when and what.
It'll be over, but hey,
Yeah, but I got to tell you, thank you for joining. I'm honored to be with Shepard Fairey, to be with Ron English, to be here at the Museum of Graffiti, Art of Hip Hop. Thank you to Nucleus Hub in Wynwood. And if we could say one word to wrap up Art Basel 2025, what word would that be after you've been walking around?
love,
Love. Art Basel 2025.
Energy.
Energy. I love it.
because we love your energy.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know what? Monster helps too.
Oh, okay. Now we know your secret.
Thank you so much. And Susana Baker's come next week with Wynwood Magazine Podcast and saying goodbye to these titans of the street, from the galleries to the museum, Shepard Fairey and Ron English. God bless you and keep you going strong.
Thanks, Susanna.
Thank you.